Oliver Farry from our International Affairs Desk is joining me now here on the programme. Oliver, Vladimir Putin said before this meeting, as we said, that Europe is trying to sabotage US efforts for peace. Russia's ready for war with Europe if Europe starts. Is it all bluster, though? I mean, or is it a serious challenge thrown down, do you think?
Well, a lazy answer might be it's a bit of both, but it is a bit of both. Vladimir Putin is clearly aware of the weight of words, so he knows how this will ring out among European governments, openly saying this is a challenge to Europe, even though it's not something that really would come as a surprise to European governments. Many of them have been openly stepping up defence spending, and some of them have evoked the possibility of a future war with Russia. But the more immediate intention was to drive a wedge between Europe and Washington. Not only is Europe not interested in peace, Vladimir Putin was saying, but it's committing possibly the graver sin of sabotaging Donald Trump's efforts at peace. And we all know how highly Donald Trump regards himself as a peacemaker. So this is an attempt to add another twist to the current saga. And this began on the 19th of November when details of a 28-point US plan were leaked, which severely compromised Ukrainian territory. And then on the 21st of November, Vladimir Zelensky warned that his country might face a very difficult choice, either losing dignity or losing a vital partner. And the next day, after European governments raised their objections, Donald Trump said the plan was not his final offer. Then on the 23rd and 24th of November, Ukrainian and US officials met in Geneva, and there was a counter-proposal from Ukraine's European allies. So Vladimir Putin is stretching things out a little bit further in the hope, no doubt, of playing to Donald Trump's vanity, which is the recurrent target of practically all the actors in this saga.
So the Russians saying not much progress from these talks. We're yet to hear from the Americans, aren't we? But I mean, what could Trump do, I suppose, if it is deemed that there has been very little progress?
Well, if I were a betting man, I'd say more talks. Drag it on a little bit more. Vladimir Putin is probably hoping that Trump and the US loses interest in the Ukraine war, which Volodymyr Zelensky said yesterday in Dublin. But Trump will probably stick it out, perhaps just out of self-importance. In a very interesting article yesterday published in Foreign Policy before those talks in Moscow, Howard French said that Trump's favourite role is a foreign policy czar, one where he sees an opportunity for prestige without concerning himself too much about the finer points of either geopolitics or diplomacy. Trump likes to boast of his negotiation skills honed in many years in business. They are rather debatable, but as French points out, it leaves an overall impression of sheer amateurism in the administration's foreign policy dealings. You might say this is true of the Trump administration writ large. You just go through all of the manifestly unqualified people who he's appointed in his cabinet. Elon Musk at DOGE, Pete Hegseth at Defence, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at Health, even his special envoy for Ukraine, Steve Witkoff, a man who fails on the basic geography of Ukraine and doesn't even bring his own translators to meetings with the Russians, is similarly unsuited. You could probably throw random YouTubers in there, Taylor Swift, Cristiano Ronaldo, and they'd probably be as much use. Trump will, though, convene more talks. He will amble along in his familiar mercurial way. And in this way, it might be seen as buying time for Ukraine. But Ukraine, of course, does not want to continue fighting forever either.
Just finally, Oliver, what room for manoeuvre does it leave Ukraine and its European allies?
Not a great deal, but it could have been worse. There's more time now for the Trump administration to at least get Donald Trump around to Europe and Kyiv's way of talking. Vladimir Zelensky can't really afford for the war to go on too much longer. Unlike Vladimir Putin, he doesn't have the luxury of just throwing hundreds of thousands of troops, mostly young men, into the meat grinder that is the Donbass. So he is answerable to the Ukrainian population. Moving things forward will also probably be contingent upon getting rid of Steve Witkoff. In an ideal world, that would probably bring a little bit of progress. That's probably not going to happen. The best that the Ukrainians can probably hope for is to get the Europeans once again to Washington, just like they did after Trump and Putin's meeting in Alaska, talk to the US president. Donald Trump is famously quite most impressed by the last person he has spoken to. And we saw that recently with his meeting with New York Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani. So even though Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are set to visit Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv, probably the person that Zelensky and his European partners will be most interested in talking to is the big man himself in Washington.
Oliver, thanks very much. Oliver Farry from our International Affairs Desk there.